Well, welcome to General Chemistry. So my name's Elizabeth Snipes, and just a little bit about me. I do commute for Burlington. It's a great commute. It's not a problem anywhere. And my background, I have a master's in chemistry, kind of favoring analytical chemistry. My master's was from Western Illinois University, and my undergrad was, my BS was from UNI, Go Panthers, Northern Iowa. So there's my contact information. And I want to add one more thing. Okay, so you see the phone number you can call me at. My office hours kind of vary a little bit, but right before this class, I'm getting ready for this class, but from noon to 1:30 is a really good time to catch me. So one thing I want to add under Twitter, all right, does anybody else in here kind of use Twitter to keep up with stuff or post stuff? Okay. Well, you don't even have to have a Twitter account to make use of this, but I actually have a Twitter account just for this class. And it starts out like that one. So it's EA Snipes, and there's an underscore, and of course then it would be CHM165. So that's you guys. Okay. You don't have to have a Twitter account. You actually can go to twitter.com and type this in, and you'll be able to see it's the news feed for your class. And also this news feed will be posted. Anybody in here use eCompanion? Okay. eCompanion's really easy. Anybody in here use HawkNet? Yeah, HawkNet to get your email and stuff. In the upper right-hand corner is a box that says online, and that will take you to your eCompanion stuff. Okay. So this feed is also under eCompanion. So those are just about my extension _SCI Twitter account. That is just simply just science stuff in general. So I'm kind of like that. So let's see. We're going to meet in here Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and we will have lab tomorrow in room 512. My office is 508, as you can see on the syllabus. So you'll pass my office to get to the chem lab. So feel free to stop in and say hi. So tomorrow's lab, just to let you know, we're going to check in and talk about, it's an important lab, talk about safety rules and that sort of thing. If you don't make it to tomorrow's lab for some reason, that's one lab that I can't let you get by without at least understanding the safety rules and kind of the safety equipment associated with that lab. And you'll need a textbook, that thick white one. Yep, I see them. So, yep, it's good stuff. Actually, if you, and I hope you will consider to take general chemistry too, we'll use the same textbook. So that should make you want to take general chemistry too. Right? So, let's see. So you need that, and you also need, and I see, yeah, 2 spiral books. One is for lecture, and one is for lab. Okay. Other things you'll need are, let's see, you need a pair of goggles, and tomorrow I'll have a box of goggles. It's quite a few goggles that students have just left behind that anybody can use, like for the semester. So the thing about them is they're indirectly vented. So of course the white knobs, you know, it's solid plastic, so there's no way for air to kind of ventilate your eyes, but there is ventilation under those little knobs, so it's indirect ventilation. So, of course, the ones that are directly vented are where you see the holes, okay, and that doesn't protect you as much as you need to be protected. The ones that really don't work are the cool-looking, like, ski goggles, you know, so that's not work. The other thing you'll need, not for tomorrow, but for the next time we meet, is you'll need something to write your data down in. And so, that is a composition notebook. And these are like all over the place right now for cheap, 50 cents, you know. It's funny, like after school time, school supplies are pulled back in, they cost like, I don't know, $2.50, $3. Okay, but they're 50 cents now. I don't understand it. Okay, so you need one of these. Again, if you continue to take Gen Chem 2, you'll just go ahead and keep writing in this. And if you take organic chemistry and PChem, you can write all in the same book. So it's a thought. Another thing I have up here is, I'm down here, supplies. Another thing you'll need is some of your data you'll need to download electronically from the Gizmo. Okay. So you'll need like a USB drive, I guess is what they call them, right? So one of those. Let's see. Going back up to supplemental resources. Did anybody get an email from me? Yeah. Okay, you should get an email from me to your SEC email address, and it actually is something called Logger Pro, and it's very similar to Excel. You know how Excel can do a lot of things. One thing Excel can do is you can do X, Y, and then take that information and make a plot out of it. That's what Logger Pro does. But it is you need this instead of Excel to manipulate the data that you download onto your USB drive. Okay, so Logger Pro. Optional supplemental text and author's website, you know, I've kind of heard mixed reviews on that. If a student's kind of wants extra help working problems, that student solution manual is kind of nice. So that's a thought. Let's see. Back to required supplies. I told you about the goggles and the lab book. Now, calculators are kind of a sort of a deal here. So, of course, you need a calculator, right, to work a few chemistry problems here and there. And most people have this sort of calculator. If it has a big display, it's probably a graphing calculator. But you can't use this on tests. You can use it on homework and everything like that. So the reason is, and I'm kind of sad to even say you can't use it on tests, but it's just too much of a potential advantage. So I've only one time, it only takes one time, had a student that basically downloaded entire chemistry encyclopedia on his thing. And I should have known because the Unit 4 in here, we're going to be talking about like stuff that doesn't use a calculator. And he was using his calculator. I'm like, wait a minute. Oh, that's because I get it. So you can't use one of these. But you do need a scientific calculator. And to prove to you how cheap you can get one, $1. Okay? Got this at the Dollar Tree, right? And you know you have a scientific calculator. You probably know this. But you're going to look for a key, one of these 3 or 4 keys for a scientific calculator. To use scientific notation, sometimes your key looks like this. Sometimes it looks like EXP. Sometimes it looks like EE. Okay, and this one's very popular these days, 10 raised to the x. And that one kind of drives me nuts. So, okay, I think it's times 10 to the x. So you need a scientific calculator, but you can't use the programmable ones. Let's see. Okay, any questions? Okay, prereqs, there are 2 prereqs for this class. And as we get going, if you, if you don't think you meet these prereqs, feel free to stop in my office and we can chat about it. One is math. You need to have a bit of algebra. There's an algebra prereq. The biggest thing for algebra, quite honestly, is when we use something called the factor label method of working problems. For those who, it's like, oh, not the factor label method. But the biggest thing you need to be able to do is, if I had a couple of ratios, if I have 5/3, okay, and I'm going to multiply it by 3/10, okay. Do you see any way you can simplify that?
Mark out the 3's and then mark out the 5's.
I like to mark out the 3's, and then she said mark out the 5's. Exactly. That's about the biggest thing in algebra I need you to know, okay? It's not a lot beyond that. So if you're like, I didn't like algebra, well, did you like that part? So what does this simplify to?
1/2.
1/2, exactly. Okay, so we have algebra. The other prerequisite is to have had chemistry before. Okay, so this is college general chemistry. You can get it in high school chemistry. You can have taken, I offer something called Introduction to General Chemistry in the spring, Chem 122. And Bio 252 also works. Anybody in here take Bio 252? No? Okay. All right. Next, going on, a little bit about this course. And let's kind of look at the units to see about this course. Okay. So the first unit we're gonna, honestly, when we start at one point early on here in Unit 1, you're gonna say, what does this have to do with chemistry? And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit hard the factor label method of solving problems. But the factor label method of solving problems sets the stage for the rest of the class. Okay? So we'll do that. We'll talk a little bit about matter, talk about the important property of density, elements. We'll talk about the periodic table. Isn't that not beautiful or what? I just think the periodic table is, and I'm not, yeah, I'm behind you. We'll talk about how much atoms weigh, the concept of a mole, the Avogadro's number, 6.022 times 10 to the 23rd, that's in there, right, mole. Talk about the mass of like 1 mole of atoms, molar masses. And then we'll talk about compounds and molar masses of compounds, a bunch of different things about compounds. In Unit 2, we'll get to talk about chemical reactions. Of course, we'll need to talk about stoichiometry, stoichiometric calculations. Okay, it'll all be great. Solution concentration, solution stoichiometry, titrations, where you have like an acid and you drip it into a base, or I guess it's usually the base in the burette and you dip it into an acid. Unit 3, we'll talk about thermodynamics. So Unit 3 is the whole where did that heat go sort of thing. Things swap heat, and we'll be kind of talking about how that works. And then Unit 4, I mentioned you won't use your calculator for Unit 4. It's the whole where are the electrons thing, the SPD, F sort of subshell thing. We'll talk more about, that's a kind of a branch off of quantum mechanics. We'll be talking about that. In Unit 4, we'll also talk about how atoms stick together and what the molecule looks like when it makes when atoms join to make a molecule. And then Unit 5, there is no Unit 5 exam, but Unit 5, a lot of times you've been exposed to gas problems, the ideal gas law equation, Unit 5. And we will, it's not a separate unit with a separate unit exam, but on the final we will have gas law problems, so we'll talk about that. So you can kind of see the broad course goals, kind of typical. One of the things about the class that you're enrolled in, General Chemistry 1, is it's very standard here, University of Iowa, WIU, UNI. Us chemistry teachers kind of got together and said, what do you need to have in this class? Because probably you're not taking General Chemistry 1 just as an elective. Okay, you need it for something else. And so we owe it to you. So my point is, it's a good class, it's a potentially rigorous class. At the larger universities, oftentimes it's general chemistry that, for instance, Iowa students can't get past. They're weeded out. It's called a weed out class. Organic chemistry, even more of a weed out class. Okay, so it's very doable, though. I say that from my perspective. That's my hope, is that together you can get through it. Okay, so you can kind of see the matrix near the end of the syllabus, like 4 pages ahead, that you'll get a certain percentage of your overall course grade will come from your labs, from your homework, from your exams, okay? That's kind of in the end. There is no opportunity for extra credit in this class. Teachers have to state that up front. A little bit about lecture and etiquette. Lecture is, I use PowerPoint slides, and they're in the, looks like it must be the green one, right? The green spiral notebook that you need to buy. And you need to be filling in your lecture slides as we go. So here's the deal. See how I am like very portable? So I reserve the right, I can like walk around here and actually advance the slides and write on slides. So I reserve the right that if you're not filling out your PowerPoint lecture slides, I will say, I'll just give you a funny look. How's that? Like, you need to fill out your lecture slides. Okay. Etiquette, it's probably what you hear from all of your instructors. you generally, you know what to do and what not to do. It's the sticky point comes in the last several years where more and more people have phones that they are checking or playing on or that sort of thing. I really don't mind, like if you just check your phone once in a while, but if you're going to carry on a conversation with your phone or using your phone with somebody else, just take it somewhere else. You know what I mean? So I can tell it's a small class, unfortunately. Okay. So that's probably the biggest thing. Be on time, don't chat. But if you have questions, go ahead and ask them during as they come up.
So glad they made these 2 different colors this semester.
Right?
Now I won't have to worry about grabbing the wrong one.
Oh, I didn't realize they.
Yeah, remember last semester they were both the same shade of blue.
Yeah, 2 different colors. So the green one for lecture, the yellow one for lab.
So I would just see that at home and be like, oh, I'll grab this one, thank you. But that's not my lecture notebook.
Yeah.
That's my notebook. So I'd have to text my wife, bro, I'm my lecture notebook.
I don't know if everyone knows Cameron, but he took Chem 122 last spring. So. Attendance, I'll take it every day and kind of go from there. This benefit of the doubt, it refers to in my syllabus. All teachers do that. It just simply says, if you're busting your butt to be here, busting your butt to turn in stuff, maybe even ask a few questions here or there, I feel like if you earn if you got like a 94.3%, wow, that's pretty damn good, 94.3%, then really you earned an A-, but that would be an A. You know what I'm saying? But if you earn that percent and you were a slacker, then it's A-. How you earn that percent if you're a slacker. Okay. Cheating, the only thing, or the biggest thing, I guess, is just like right before class, you basically write down someone else's, assignment and hand it in as yours. That's not cool. Okay. Otherwise, it's kind of hard to cheat in here. Exams. There will be 4 exams, and then that 5th unit material over gases. Some questions will be on your final exam as well. Okay. So 4 unit exams. The unit exams are, unlike the other classes I teach, the unit exams are not multiple choice. Okay. The unit exams, sometimes there's vocabulary, sometimes there's just definitions on your unit exams. Sometimes, definitely there's problems to be worked, problems to be had in chemistry. Okay, so exams. The thing about exams is they will be given on Thursdays. Reminds me. I found my handouts. These are when the exams are going to be. So you can see on my syllabus, and I don't even say tentative, I say this is when the exams will be. They're on Thursdays. If you know ahead of time that you can't make it to a test, you can take your test early. Okay? But I do not accommodate and give negative exams. So what I do for, in the case that you missed a test, okay, is that you will basically earn a 0 for that test, but what will happen is your percentage you earn on your final will substitute back in for that missed exam. Okay, so that's how that goes. So 4 unit exams, a 5th unit of material. Your final in here is comprehensive, which means it's over everything, right? In December we'll all be happy, Christmas, and then the finals. So your final exam, again, unlike I also teach meteorology and astronomy, your final exams will be your final exam will be totally new questions. Anything is fair game, okay, that we cover this semester in the 16 weeks. Okay. Okay. Homework and other assignments. So, I've heard it likened to learning chemistry is kind of like, I guess it's kind of like playing an instrument in that if you just watch somebody play their instrument, you're not going to become good at playing an instrument. I play French horn, so, and I play with the Southeast Iowa Symphony Orchestra. fourth horn, baby. But anyway, if you just watch somebody play an instrument, it's not going to connect. So you actually have to get in there and do it. So anyway, homework's very important. So I will collect kind of on a regular basis when we get rolling. Basically, every time you come in here, there's going to be homework due that was assigned the previous lecture time. Okay, so. Yeah. And actually, beyond what I assign, that my syllabus kind of says, a lot of times you need even more beyond that. So if you look in your green books, like at the end of Unit 1, there is a, before Unit 2, there's what I call, or is it, no, it's the first page. Look at the first page. There it is. Very first page is called Lecture Guide. I lied. So that actually kind of does two things. That lecture guide kind of outlines what we're going to be covering in Unit 1, and that last column is our additional problems. Now, one thing about it is weird about Petrucci. This is a great book, by the way. The resale is pretty good on it, I think. And I think you should keep it forever, but it's a great book. What Petrucci did not do is put solutions to, like, the odd problems in the back of his book. You're like, dude, really? So what I did is available under eCompanion, there's a tab called Doc Sharing. What I did is for the even problems, I just took Petrucci's thing he made available to me and pushed it out to you. So for all of the chapters that you'll be using, you have answers to answers, not the solutions, but the answer to the even problems. So you'll have to go to under Doc Sharing and get those, which I would print them out because I like to see if I match up. So that's homework. Any questions about homework? Nope. Okay, notice that I do, at the end of the semester, we'll drop a fifth of your homeworks. So the lowest homeworks, what I do is I just go in the grade book, and they're always worth 10 points. At the end of the semester, I take your lowest ones, and I change them to 10s. So, kind of fun. All right. Here in bold, I said homework will generally not be accepted late, only if you've made arrangements prior. Because sometimes I'll have students that are just legitimately either have it done and can't make it or something like that. If you let me know before I collect them, I might be able to work a deal with you. Okay, but that's kind of how that goes. All right. What else we got? Lab. There's a couple things at the end of the syllabus I handed out to you. We're going to go over here in a minute related to lab. But before I forget, because sometimes I forget, okay, in the yellow one that you're going to use for lab, in the back there's a section, and I think they're called P, they're numbered Ps. Those are the pre-labs, and you will, for every lab except tomorrow, have a pre-lab to do. And what I'll do is before lab starts, or actually I'll get you started, during lab I'll walk around and see if you filled in those little blanks. So did you find that yet? They don't have P's, do they? They're just section 3, thanks. Yeah, just section 3. So those will be, and the thing I gave you just a minute ago with the exams also has the labs we're done. Okay, so that's a really good little one-pager that I gave you. Thanks. The lab report, though, you get points for lab just for doing your pre-labs. That's like 5% of your grade. And then the extra 20% of your lab grade, or the grade for this course, because lab collectively is 25, so it's 5 and 20. 20% comes from what you write to me, okay, and handed as a semi-formal lab report. Okay, eCompanion, let's take a quick look at what your site looks like. It might change here and there, but generally speaking, oh, this is what we got. So I mentioned you click on the online, so your HawkNet, oh, see, I wasn't going to do this. Your HawkNet will look like, will look different than my HawkNet. but it will look something like this. A little sad face. Let's see, what else do I want to say while this is coming up? So e-companion, like I say in my syllabus, the things I use it for is the grade book. And actually that's also where I post documents like the answer key to your unit exams. Oh, and that's also where under doc sharing you have the answer key, and you also have like your homework solutions. So like I sign it, you bring it, turn it in next time, I return it to you the next time, and then the answer keys are posted here. So those are the big things. And also, I said that Twitter feed is also here. So this is after HawkNet, you click here, online classes. And then you click here. This one. Okay. So again, yours looks a little different than mine, but the general idea is the same. So that first column right there, okay, this column is where you're going to see when I record lectures, okay. Actually, this first column is if you do Twitter, and if you subscribe to this, that's what you're going to see that first column. Okay, that last column is my science one, and this is something kind of something else, okay, just some related things. You see the doc sharing tab? That's where you'll want to go. Right now, for sure, the doc sharing has the answers to the odd problems for the chapters that we're doing in Unit 1, or Chem 1. Okay. Solutions to odd problems. Now, if I open up like the Unit 1 homework answer key, Unit 2 answer key, those won't be available to you until after you turn them into me, and then those become available. Makes sense, right? Every once in a while, I'll be like, oh, the answer is separate. Any questions about this? Okay. So back to the syllabus. And that's not it. All right. So you can kind of see how the course is divvied up. Oh, with regard to special needs, you know, if there's anything that I can do to make this a better semester for you, aside from just giving you the grade, let me know. You know, sometimes there's different things that I should know about. I had one student one semester who actually had where you fall asleep, and that was nice to know. I think we all have that, but no, he really had it. But every once in a while, I'll have a student that really tests, and they explain it to me, but they would test better in a situation outside of the classroom, and I set them up in the Success Center, so that's an example of special needs. But we're all special. So you can kind of see where the points are in this course. 10% of your overall course grade will come from your performance on your assignments, 5% just on filling out those things and bringing them to lab with you before lab, or fill them out before lab and bring them to lab with you. 20% then from your written lab report. I'm going to talk about that just briefly in a minute. 45% from your 4 unit exams, and the classic 1/5 from your comprehensive final. Okay? Now you get pluses and minuses. And any questions? No? Okay. So, lab, dun, dun, dun. Lab meets on Thursdays, and I've kind of added this important thing at the top there. Sometimes students don't catch it. The third sentence, I guess it says, for item number 1, If you've missed 2 consecutive lectures prior to the day of the lab, you will not be allowed to participate. And I came up with this just simply because what we talk about here is then what we do in lab. And it just seems just too strange for me. If you miss Monday, Wednesday, and then you come to lab, you've missed basically what we're doing in lab. That's kind of where that comes from. Okay, it goes on to say that I don't give makeup labs, but I drop 1 lab. And if your attendance is good in lecture, as defined by missing 5 or fewer lectures, then I drop 2 labs. Yeah. Now, in order to get that 20% of your course grade that comes from your written lab reports, I struggle with this with students. I don't know why it doesn't connect sometimes, but you really can do well, but you do have to focus on what I want in your lab report to get full credit. Okay, it's not just, those aren't giving points, semi-formal lab reports. You'll be working with partners, so 2 or 3 to a group, so kind of think about that for tomorrow. Tomorrow when you check in, we'll kind of pair you up and get your safety goggles. It won't take the full time tomorrow, so that's nice. Number 3 is if you're coming late to lab and 10 minutes is kind of the cutoff, then you can't do the experiment if you're more than 10 minutes late, because the first part of lab is safety stuff and the chemistry of what you're doing. So you'll be on time. Let's see, number 4 talks about, where'd it go? My notebook. Okay. So the reason we go with this for your lab data is your lab data is precious. All lab data is precious. Okay. Notice that I'm writing in pen, you write in pen. Only on 1 page of the notebook. Let's see what else. Oh, and don't tear out any sheets, okay, for obvious reasons. Maybe you guys have been exposed to this, but good lab notebook practices are, if you make a mistake, draw a line through it, don't obscure it so you can actually see behind the line, and initial it, okay? So pretend like you're working in a research lab. Okay. Let's see. Safety, we'll talk more about safety tomorrow. Number 6 says if your lab partner doesn't show, a lot of times I pair you up with somebody else. Let's see, number 8, there are a few labs that are dry labs. They are nomenclature and Lewis structures. I'm saying to my Chem 1, 2, 2 students because they're very similar. So those are 2 topics that we won't be mixing things and that sort of thing because we're hitting it hard otherwise. Keep your area neat, number 9. Number 10, you will then, after you collect your lab data, you'll need to do a specified set of calculations and put together a semi-formal lab report. Okay, so 5% comes from your pre-lab and 20% comes from your semi-formal lab report. 11, I've never had a final exam, or, over lab. Number 13 is kind of a strange one, but it really has happened before where a student got a hold of another student's lab notebook from past and basically was going to use their data. No, use your own data, right? Like, I don't understand. I kind of don't understand. The last page is one you want to have handy when you write up your lab reports. Okay. This actually, I think, is also in your the yellow book. Okay, this about what am I looking for in a semi-formal lab report. I will give you, hopefully tomorrow, if not soon, a checklist that I have handy, that actually a checklist that I go through when I have your report in front of me, things that I'm looking for. And I'll take that same checklist and when I evaluate your report, go through there and kind of identify things that were missing or things that weren't right. So I'll give that to you. That should help. So you need to type them double-spaced. You don't need to have a cover page, okay? There are generally 3 sections. The first section, to me, actually is kind of 3 sections, if you ask me. The first section, okay, is called the summary. And to me, a lot of times, I will break out purpose, experimental procedure, and discussion of results as kind of their own sections as part of the summary. Okay, this is the typed portion. Purpose is short, experimental procedure is what you did. Discussion of results, and I tell you, just generally it says, discussion of results is what were your outcomes, okay? So I kind of have down here what you do. Discuss your key results. So when it comes time to write in your experimental section, you should write in past tense, like what you did, and you should avoid using the pronouns I and we. Like instead of saying, we heated this beaker, you could say the beaker was heated. See how that goes? Sometimes it's like a little game, thinking of what you want to say and then turning it back around to remove the word I or we. Need to be written in paragraph form. The yellow lab manuals actually have bullets. You do this, and you do this, and then you do this. Okay, that's not how you should write your experimental procedure. It should be in a paragraph form. Include enough detail that somebody could repeat your experiment if they needed to. So under that last section, where to me, when I evaluate them, I really spend a fair bit of time, or I'm really looking for things in your discussion of results. To me, that is key. Okay. Here is where you can pull raw data sometimes, but really kind of highlight what your calculations are in your results and discussion. Then the second main section are your calculations. Now, calculations don't need to be typed. If you're like me, you don't want to type them. I will tell you, students in the past have really had a hard time with their calculation sections. This part, let's see, where does it go? Each calculation should be clearly labeled. That's one of my bullets I'm looking for, and that's like a whole point. Clearly label your calculation. So like if you're doing a density calculation, all you got to do for your label is say density, or density of water. Okay, you will be doing that. Density of water calculation. Okay, volume of cylinder calculation. Okay, so let's see. Then the third main section, actually you need to find a Xerox machine, and there's one in the library, I know. And is it 10 cents, 20 cents in the library? Okay, so you need to take this, okay, and for whatever lab data you collected, put it on the copy machine and copy it. Okay, so that's your word. Questions? Good heavens. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm exhausted.
It's a little bit different than what we did last semester.
Yeah, it is
Just
similar.
Just a lot more detail with the lab and stuff.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Comparing the two chemistry classes, the lab will be different. The material will be different. I guess I already tried to kind of warn you about how rigorous it can be. It goes faster than you did in high school. It goes into more depth. I guess the speed is what I was going to kind of emphasize. So why don't we stop there, okay? But don't get used to getting out early. It's just a few minutes early. And then on Friday, we're going to kind of just basically buzz through part one. Because if you'll notice, a lot of times in your lecture slides, I've taken words out, okay? But part one, I didn't take any words out because actually it's really kind of, you'll see why, it's basically kind of review, okay? All right, we'll see you tomorrow in 5